Good evening, everyone. The time has just gone about 12 minutes to 8 o'clock, and a big welcome to everyone who's joining us this evening. I'm just waiting for my camera to turn on because it has a mind of its own, but a huge welcome to everyone this evening. We've got some amazing stories to actually tell this evening, and I think storytelling is just one of those things that we do best at the Jewish Report. So if you are with us, welcome. Maybe it's because I forgot to click the start camera button. That would explain a lot. But let's be joined from everyone, all our panelists this evening as they turn on their cameras, and we welcome them. Colin Nathan.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Yeah, it's good to see you, bro.
I drove past you, I think it was last week. You looked like you were attempting to jog in Rudd Road.
I'm glad you used the word attempting because I'm not jogging at the moment, but hopefully I'll get there. Is the lighting okay? Oh, hello, Dina. How you doing? Good to see you. Jeez, long time.
Long time. Good to see you that you're not in Russia.
Oh, yeah, it's good to be home. I think the last time I saw you were standing outside Kappa hucking about dawn, maybe. Lighting.
And Japan.
So
oh,
Colin,
Japan. That's right. Viva Japan.
Have you been to Japan, Cole?
3 times, yes.
What an amazing country. I can't wait to go back.
We were actually in Japan at the same time. I was going to try and get to one of his fights, but it was like literally a 3-hour train ride.
I said to you and your husband and your kids, come, we'll get you tickets. That's right. I think we were fighting at the Korokoran Hall in Tokyo. It's where Mike Tyson got knocked out in 1990 against James Buster Douglas. It's a very historic place. Howard, is it time for me to just go and get a bottle of water downstairs?
Go get a bottle of water. We're live. There are about let's see, about over 400 people watching us already. But we're just having an informal chat. So Adam, you joining us from where? Are you in Durban at the moment?
Yeah, I'm at home in Durban. Hot and humid today.
Hot and humid is what we aspire for in the rest of the country. It was a little miserable in Joburg, and I saw in Durban, in Cape Town as well. It seemed a little miserable today.
Sure. Yeah, the aircon's on right now, to be honest.
So did your hair not frizz?
A little bit.
Not too bad. You know, Kimmy and Dina's secrets is they always look best in the bathroom. So they broadcast from like the bathroom. So Kimmy, are you sitting in the bathroom today?
I can neither confirm nor deny where I'm sitting today. Did you also do that? You know, they say that Dina and I are twins. They confuse us all the time.
I can see the resemblance.
Is that because Dina has such rhythm?
Yeah.
That's it, Howard. That's exactly why.
It's because she's got rhythm, she's got style, she's got class, she's got everything.
This is why we love this girl. We love Kimmy.
And Rael Lazaro, how's it? Let's get your microphone on.
How's it, guys? How you doing? Thanks
By
for
the
having
end
me,
of
Howie.
tonight, are we going to empty all of those bottles behind you?
I hope so.
That's the idea, because Benji, what are you drinking?
I'm interviewing Adam Lipschitz. I've got to have my Red Bull. This guy is so fast that if I'm not on top of my game, he will just leave you in the dust.
Look, I think he's going to leave you in the dust regardless of how many Red Bulls you actually drink, Ben.
I've got another. I'm going on my bike, my motorized bike, and he's running.
While you're doing the interview.
Exactly. That's the only way to keep up with him. Trust me, when you hear his numbers, you'll hear it.
Again.
So, Adam, you do know that Benji is actually a proper athlete.
No, Adam, Howie, let's clear one thing up.
That's a true story.
No. Adam calls himself a social runner. Let me tell you, we are social runners. This man runs, his average pace on a treadmill is more than 18 is conversational. Couldn't even, you don't understand. We are not athletes compared to him.
Well, I am definitely not an athlete compared to him. Colin was an athlete until about a month or two ago, and we hope we'll get him back. But
I'm an athlete in my mind still, so it's okay.
Colin, when I saw you last week, you were on the street corner and you were leaning over panting.
Shame, man.
Not really a good look, eh? That's really not a good look.
I thought, oh my God, I can be Colin Nathan if I really try.
Oh, listen, the only thing I'm good at running at the moment is my bath water, so.
Oh, you're lucky you got water. No one in Melrose has water. I turned on the taps today. There was so much air in the taps, it was like showering sparkling water.
I don't hear more about that.
Nice, like a jacuzzi shower.
It was a jacuzzi shower, exactly.
You just need to fight for it, Howie. You fight for it.
So I see we're joined from Glen Hazel by Andy. Welcome. From Hadassah Friedman says she's in Waverley, and Gavin Milt says, Kimmy, he can hear the echo of your bathroom tiles behind you.
Oh my God, guys! I love this bathroom. I'm actually going to take a picture of the bathroom lights. They're Hollywood lights. I'm going to take a picture of the bathroom lights, and I'm going to show you why I sit in this bathroom.
Because, Kimmy, people will remember the last time you were on one of our programs was actually we did The Bachelor and Bachelorette.
I did, yes.
And she was the winner.
I won.
You won. So we do want to know, did in fact your date work out? And is there anything you want to tell us?
That's PG rated.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't briefed on this. I wasn't briefed on this particular question, and I plead the fifth, even though we are not in the States.
Just by the way, Estelle says, say hi to Laura, please. I'm not quite sure who. Oh, I presume, Colin, that's for you.
Yeah, I got it.
I was randomly hoping someone called Laura would just log on so we could say hi to, but Colin, that was definitely for you.
She might tune in and she's heard the story. She lived through the story, so she's a bit bored and gutful of it. So
look, she's I imagine just grateful to have you home. Maybe not so much. That's absolutely hilarious. So Ingrid said that it's actually wet and cold in Camps Bay, and Gavin assures me, Colin, that Laura is definitely your wife.
Yeah.
I hope he was at the wedding just to make sure that everyone had the legitimate papers and was able to do it. But Denise also tells us that it's humid and 41 degrees in Toronto. Adam, like, it's not that bad in Durban, hey?
Yeah, not too bad.
And Linda says it's boiling in San Diego. So it's actually just incredible that we can do a bounce around the world and check on the weather around the world. But the thing I wanted to actually discuss is that we're like a week and a half away from Yontif again. How did that happen?
Crazy.
Time flies when you're having fun, Howie. Time flies.
Time flies when you're in lockdown.
I want to know, Rail, how are the Lazaros going to be spending Yontif this Rosh Hashanah?
We're spending time with family in Joburg. Half my family's actually split up at the moment because some of us are in Cape Town and the rest of us are in Joburg, and I've got my sister in America. So it's at least my aunt and uncles, we're going to be spending it together.
Okay. So are things back to normal, Benji, on your side? Are you having people over for Yontif, or is it still small and separated?
No, very small. The only thing that is very nice is that my mom can come to us. There's a whole procedure where they have to have a COVID test when they go back. But it is very nice. It's massive, and we're very excited about that. So that's the only change to last year. Yeah.
That's really good news. Anon says he has no sound, but Anon sometimes log off and log back in. There's definitely sound because we can hear each other. So hopefully,
his settings on his computer, that little button with the sound,
the little one that you increase volume, that one, Dina.
Howie, while you asking all the questions, how are you going to be doing Yontif? It's nice to put you in that seat again.
It's still going to be very, very small. I think like maybe Sukkot, when we can do it outside, is the time to have one or two more guests. But I think I've told Dean and Benji the story. I went to the Japanese ambassador, I think it was February or March, for dinner. And he had this enormous table. It could seat like 30 people. And it was just the two of us opposite each other in this enormous table and a perspex shield between us. So we could talk to each other, but there was, and I was even thinking, well, you know, for Yontif, do I go look for perspex shields? And I thought, you know, something is easier. Sukkot will be outside. Hopefully it won't be raining. Of course, who we're kidding? It always rains on Sukkot. But maybe that's the time to have visitors rather than at the moment.
Howie, I can help you with the perspex, by the way. Just so you know.
Really?
Oh, yes, babe. Yes, not advertising.
Advertise while we're on. So let us say I want perspex dividers between everyone at my table. And for some of my family, I would actually not like perspex, but maybe bricks. Can you help with us?
Howie, we're a one-stop shop. It's in the family. It's in our family blood. It's called Maya's Signs. They do everything: signage, perspex, the whole story.
And where do I find Maya's Signs?
In Glen Hazel, babes.
My goodness.
Howie hasn't left his house in 18 months. He doesn't know.
No, he has. He has definitely left his house, because I saw him in the park last year walking my little toy palm, and he was in the park, but he was masking like there's no tomorrow. He was like, stand back, we're masking.
I was wearing so many masks, people thought I was a mummy escaped from a pyramid. I had so many layers over me.
Well, I would have said Darth Vader, but you know, each to their own.
But Kimmy, I'm double vaxxed and 4 weeks, and I've tested my antibodies. I went for a spike protein antibody test, and my antibody game is strong. Doesn't mean to say that I can't get it. So you still need to mask up and sanitize and keep social distances. But I've crawled out from underneath my bed, and I have gone further than my lounge and dining room.
I'm so proud of you, Howie. I'm so proud of you coming to my next event.
Look, unless it's the two of us, probably not.
I mean, it could be the two of us.
Okay,
then Kimmy is an event, so it's okay.
Then I'm in. So, ladies and gentlemen, the time has just gone 8 p.m. A welcome to everyone around the world. So happy to have you join us this evening, and so grateful that tonight on controls we have Danny Kadar and Britt Landsman. So let's turn on your cameras.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Danny. How's it?
How's it? Sorry, you guys are giving me PTSD talking about Yontif. I can't even think about that right now. I'm so happy we're changing the conversation now.
No, Danny, I want to know, his first night at you this year.
Howard, I can't even think about what I'm doing tomorrow. Yontif, I'm just going to rock up and probably wake up and, yeah, guys, I think I need to shave and just ask my wife where I need to be. She's in charge. She's the boss.
So I should ask, I know Peter knows the answer because Britt would tell her the answer. Peter, and Britt, when are the Yontif editions of the Jewish Report coming out?
So it goes to bed on the it goes to bed on Wednesday. So basically the 3rd. It will be out on the 3rd.
So next week's edition is the Yontif edition. Britt, is it a big edition?
That's the one.
Of course, a bumper edition for everyone to get their fix of the Jewish Report while we're not publishing for the week after.
So just a reminder to everyone.
Lots to read.
Oh, well, so Peter, we've got lots to read. One of the stories I hope we're reading about is the story of Rail and Thirst and their bar academy, which we're going to be talking about in a second, because we discussed doing that story a little earlier today. But a bumper edition coming out. Just a reminder to everyone that this is the 116th webinar since lockdown has begun, brought to you by the South African Jewish Report. And once again, such a privilege to be able to do that for our community and for South Africa, and tonight to tell 4 remarkable stories. So let's start off by talking about the latest edition of the Jewish Report. It's out. Danny, show us the cover, what it looks like. Peter, tell us what's your favorite story in this.
So my favorite story, and it's a difficult one to say is my favorite story, but it really resonated with me because I have family who went to Yeshiva College. So there is a young bodybuilder called Noel Daisel, okay, and he has 3.3 million followers on social media. And he went to give a motivational talk and talk to the kids at Yeshiva College. And he left there and was sent a whole lot of really ugly messages, which led to him kind of having to respond. And it just really horrified me that a young guy who went there to speak about social media and speak about how these young kids could grow into contributors of society, and he gets lambasted for doing that. And I must say, it's a page 3 story, but
so Peter, who lambasted?
People who don't like the fact that he went to speak at Yeshiva College.
Okay, so that's page 3. I like the article on page 1 because there are a group of people all involved who want to set up a new Chapter 9 institution, and you broke that story. So for people who are watching, Chapter 9 is the Constitution, and under the Chapter 9 are independent bodies that protect democracy. We have the Human Rights Commission and the Independent Electoral Commission and the Public Protector and the Auditor General, and a group of people, and Mark Heyman of our community is very integrally involved, and they have proposed to the president that we set up a new anti-corruption body under Chapter 9 of the Constitution. It was breaking news. We were the first newspaper in the country to carry the story, and I'm happy to tell you that Willie Hofmeyer and Paul Hoffman are all going to be on a webinar coming up in a week or two's time. We've broken the story in the Jewish Report this week. Don't forget, you can pick up your copy of the newspaper at Exclusive Books or CNA or your garage shop or your shul or your kosher shop, or at Checkers, Pick and Pay, Spar, Discam. We're all over the place. Pick up your copy of the Jewish Report, or if you want to read it online, don't forget www.sajr.co.za. And the other thing that's really important, on the front page of this week's Jewish Report, we're advertising that you have the last chance to nominate people for Jewish Achiever Awards this year. Dina, have you got your nominations in?
Absolutely, front of the line. It always is such an unbelievable event where we just see talent and people that we didn't even know about, or that are just sort of hiding under the crevices. And it's just an amazing, amazing opportunity to nominate people in so many different categories, from entrepreneurship to business to humanitarian. So please, everyone, go do your nominations. There are people always in the back of your mind that you think should win an award. This is your time to nominate them. So absolutely do it right now.
And let's talk about some of the people who won last year. If you remember, Professor Barry Shoup won Community Service Award last year. Susan Berman Ackerman won Humanitarian for the amazing work that she did together with Pick and Pay in feeding the needy and the starving during lockdown. Or she was Women in Leadership. Sorry, Wendy Fisher won Humanitarian. What the Fishers and Kirschers did for everyone, from sponsoring the Sia Khaleesi Foundation to giving money to Africa Tikkun to feed people. Literally hundreds and hundreds of millions of rands spent by their family on making sure South Africans could survive lockdown. And then on sports, art, science, and culture, Kimmy, the sort of category you would love, Jody Scheckter, the only ever Formula One champion from South Africa, happened to be Jewish, Formula One driver, won for Ferrari, won actually the title for Ferrari at Monza. He won our sports, art, science, and culture nomination last year. Johnny Bromberg won Business Leadership Award, Michael Katz Business Icon Award. I mean, what an amazing array of talent that we bring out every single year for Jewish Achiever Awards. Nominations close 3rd of September.
Yeah.
So please get your nominations in today. Really, really important that we do it. And Dina, let's talk about our next webinar. Our next webinar is on Saturday night. You have gathered the most unbelievable array of chefs from around the world. Tell us.
So I am so excited about this webinar. I mean, I love our cooking webinars because I just think they really added like another dimension to what we offer. But we've literally gone global to bring you the best taste that we could possibly offer, especially to start off a new year, because there is no better way to start off with a new year than with good food. We have got Liz Alpern, who is from Brooklyn, New York in the US, and she is known for making the traditional modern. So she's specifically goes on Ashkenazi food, but she's unbelievable. She's amazing. We've got Lisa Goldberg, who is so loved from the Monday Morning Cooking Club all the way in Australia. So she has done an amazing, amazing color for us. We've got Yael Girard, who comes from India, who is literally the stalwart of the community there and just cooks up magnificent feasts every single time she cooks.
She's doing a fish biryani for us, a kosher.
She is doing a fish biryani.
Kosher Rosh Hashanah fish biryani from India.
Because that's what everyone has at their table, and that's why we wanted to mix it up this year, so that we can always get, because people are like so bored of what they normally have and what they normally do. We thought we are going all out to see what else we could bring you. And then we've got Melissa Mayo, who's actually South African but lives in Italy, and she is based in Tuscany. So she's going to be doing amazing vegetable salads for us to really give us that fresh vibe back to and healthy actually vibe for our wonderful meals. And then we have got someone who also I think is outstanding, and also you have to go check her out on Instagram. Her name is Rotem Libreson. She's got over 60,000 followers on Instagram. She's an Israeli blogger, cook, chef, TV, radio personality, and just makes the most amazing food. She's actually got very much a Persian influence. So she'll be making for us a Persian rice cake with meat. And that should also be outstanding. I'm really so excited for this webinar.
So that's 8 o'clock Saturday night. Please go and register. It's our bit.ly link, SAJR web, and that will be webinar 117. And Benji Porter, you entered our shofar blowing competition last year. How did you do?
You know, Howie, I've got 7 people that live in my house that were eligible to vote, and I got 1 vote. And I think that vote was Herschel, our fellow board member. So you work out how I did on that one. I think then I think you increased the voting time, and with a lot of pressure around the table, I got 4 votes. I managed to convince 3 of the people that actually live in my house. So I ended up having 4 votes. 1 Herschel and 3 guilty. I think my wife just felt so guilty. And then 2 of the kids who, big-hearted. So not so well, let's just say it like that.
Okay, so Benji, it's Elul. One of the customs we have in Elul as we head up to New Year's is we blow the shofar to remind people it is a time for introspection and thought, and it's time we go and forgive the people around ourselves and hopefully forgive ourselves as well. So let's have a shofar blozening. I know Danny doesn't approve of my use of Yiddish there, but let's have a shofar blozening that can awake us and take us into the month of Elul, Danny. That's one hell of a Tekiah Godola. Benji definitely did better than you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would say Rabbi Stern's a star.
So just before we actually begin telling our stories, Rael, you've actually got an amazing story. You join us from Thirst. You've been on our programs before. You've had an amazing business that really survived on the industry of entertainment and functions and corporate events. It clearly hasn't been an easy 18 months.
No, not at all, But I just want to start off, thank you for having me on the show, and I'm listening. I want to really excited to hear your guys' stories as well. But yeah, the last 18 months have been really rough, especially for us in the events industry. We've hustled our way through, just doing everything that we can from delivering food parcels and helping Howie out every once in a while as well. We've pivoted our business into developing our own drinks products. And recently we've just developed a online training academy.
So we'll ask you about the online training academy, but I want to tell you that I'm enormously grateful to you because, you know, you mentioned it, but I don't think people understood. When you had absolutely no work and no income coming in, and when Ricky Lyons and I were running the can in Melrose North, trying to ship food into Kliptown in Soweto, where people were literally starving, you gave us your staff, you gave us your trucks, you never asked for anything in return. You had your guys come packing food parcels with us, shipping them into the townships at a time where there was absolutely no income and work for you whatsoever. We will forever be enormously grateful to you and to the team at Thirst for everything that you did for us, for our community, and helping to feed the starving people of South Africa at a time that was so difficult. And we want to pay a little bit of that forward, because you've gone and you've pivoted your business and you've started now an academy for barmen. Before we begin that, I just want to give people an inkling of kind of what Thirst is about by playing a very, very short little video for them.
Let me tell you about my dream. Vivid, exquisite, alluring. A sparkling explosion, fresh and fanciful. Then a twist and a twirl and a touch of pink before it turned all spicy. It got hot. It was chilling. It was all kinds of juicy, enticing, beguiling, and, like all dreams, a little weird. What did Freud say about fruit? And why shake so hard? But then it showed its true colors. Effervescent, delicate, whimsical, a rare delight. Perfectly dreamy hibiscus fizz.
So, Rael, what did Freud say about fruit?
And do you deliver?
Of course. The only problem is today's Thirst Day, which is the day before you're not allowed to get alcohol delivered to your house for the weekend. So make sure that you get those orders in on Wednesday so that you can use Thursday for drinking.
Well, I actually got an amazing Thirst box delivered because I had a function earlier today, and part of that function was they delivered to my home an amazing shaker, Thirst shaker, and little bits of alcohol inside, and dried oranges and all sorts of things. So I could during the function this afternoon make my own drinks. So if I make no sense tonight, you'll know exactly it worked. But so
Rael, can I ask one question? Is South Africa the only country in the world where you get offered tea or coffee with us? on a Friday to a Sunday, hey?
Yeah, shocking, eh? So that's why you got to get your orders in early.
So, Rael, tell us, you've pivoted this business. There are lots of kids coming out of school. They're taking gap years. They don't really know how to get a job, what they're going to do. They want to go travel, but they got no skills to work. You've actually plugged some of that gap and started an academy for barmen. So tell us about that.
Completely, yeah. Thank you, Howie. So basically, that's actually how Clyde and I started the business. Was we decided to go to London on our gap year. We had no experience whatsoever in the bar industry. We got a job in some of the top bars in London, and we just worked as bar backs, like packing beers into fridges, cleaning, mopping. We did whatever we could, but because of our South African work ethic, we quickly moved up into becoming bartenders and went through training programs there. And we stayed there for about 2.5 years before we came back and started up Thirst. And one of the stories and one of the things that we love to pass on to all the new staff that we bring onto our team is those stories. And the reason for this is because we actually teaching them a skill that they can literally work anywhere in the world and start earning money from the day that they walk behind the bar, because as a bartender, as you know, you'll get you do a little bit of a flair trick, or you make a good cocktail, you serve someone well, and you'll get a tip. So even though your paycheck may come in a week's time, you can actually start earning money from when you walk behind the bar.
So if I'm a kid coming out of school, how do I actually enroll in this academy?
So how we're doing it at the moment is we've got 3 different courses. We've got an online course, which is a very basic beginner bartender course, which goes through everything from cocktail knowledge to skills to the 5 basic cocktail making techniques, a little bit of introduction to the bar station and how it's packed and set up. And it's a really basic entry-level course. Then we've got which is all done online. We spent a couple months at the end of last year, when there was that second lockdown, filming these online videos. So we've got about 36 hours of footage, and we go step by step through every single one of those techniques and bit of information. And you'll basically write a quiz after every little module, just to see if you've managed to understand what we've trained you on, and you're able to go back and watch the video again if you didn't quite get it, which we think is, I think, an amazing opportunity. Most of South Africa, especially when they're in lockdown, learned a new skill, and we thought that this would be a great opportunity. So we've launched this platform. It's live from this week. Then over and above that, we've got our training facilities in Joburg, Durban, and Cape Town. We've got a 3-day introduction to bartending and a 5-day flagship course, as well as a barista course. So if you ever want to work on that coffee, Benji, we'll hook you up.
So, Rael, I want to pose a challenge. We haven't discussed this before, but Dina is running this cooking show for Rosh Hashanah on Saturday night.
Yes.
Are you willing to come on Saturday and create a Rosh Hashanah cocktail for us, but it must include apple and it must include honey?
With pleasure. I'd love the opportunity.
Okay. Saturday night, we're on
Deal.
8 o'clock. Let's start with a decent cocktail, but it must be a Rosh Hashanah cocktail. Okay.
100%. Perfect.
And maybe some pomegranates.
Yeah, why not? Maybe 2.
So, Rael, first of all, best of luck for this
Thank
entire new business. Peter, you had a question or a comment?
All I wanted to say was just have a look on the chat. There's somebody looking to do a bartender and barista course.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And
Yeah,
Rael, can I ask you a
so
question? Do you do team build? So like if someone wanted to have a party and you wanted to teach people,
Yeah.
like even virtually or in person, if you wanted to say have a party and teach your best mates how to bartend?
100%. That was actually one of the first things that we started with when we went into lockdown. Was we developed these awesome cocktail boxes, and inside the box you'll receive, for instance, a mojito box, a bottle of Bacardi with some limes, mint, sugar syrup, everything that you'd need, a madla, or everything that you'd need in order to actually make the cocktail, with a little recipe card. And we'd either do a live Zoom link, so for team buildings. Alternatively, you could just order it on our online store, and there's a little QR code with a link to a step-by-step video or a recipe if we hadn't done a video. So depending on the box, we had managed to put all those together. So they're really awesome, and they've been very popular. I mean,
I can
like
tell
how
you
we
that
said-
the first one I did was in fact a 50th birthday party. A box was delivered to me. Everyone was sitting in different places around. There was a barman teaching us how to make drinks, and it came with a cocktail shaker and the muddler in and a highball glass and all the ingredients that you did and the recipes. And we all sat behind computers in our own home and had a birthday party together, and it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, it was amazing. We've actually gone to, we did 500 was the most recent delivery. So we had 500 people doing it all together, which was fantastic.
So Rael, just before we say goodbye to you, we're going to play out with one of your other videos, because I just love your videos. They are so Freudian that I can't help playing them over and over again. But people want to know, how do they get hold of you? What's the website? Can I ask you on the chat section if you could just on Zoom put details of contact details and where people can register for the courses as well. And we'll make sure that Britt and Danny take that over onto both Facebook and YouTube as well.
Yeah, with pleasure. Thank you. It's a thirst.co.za, and then they've got multiple tabs. So either if you're looking for a team building or an online store, or for the training academy, they all listed on thirst.co.za.
Okay, you'll put it into the chat, and Bev is asking, can you also do non-alcoholic cocktails? And of course you can. A complete waste of time, but of course you can.
Of course. Sure. We'll even throw in some dehydrated garnishes.
Rael, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on Saturday night.
Cheers.
Thank you, Rael.
Thanks.
What do you say we try a little experiment? Let's test some taste buds. To begin, we need to pack a punch. Rich, heartwarming, vigorous. A few drops will set the scene and lay a magical foundation. Then there's the flair, alchemy, infused with original sins. It's fanciful, it's disruptive. But if you get the balance just right, add some fuel to the fire, you'll create the experimental, an exceptionally balanced conversation piece.
Dina, if you make cocktails like that, I'm definitely coming to you for Yontif. So just a reminder to everyone, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can use that at any point in time to join the conversation if you have questions for any of our guests, as well as on YouTube and on Facebook. At any point in time, you can just post a comment and a question, and Danny and Britt will bring that through to this conversation as well. So I'm going to ask everyone to turn off their cameras except for Colin Nathan. Colin Nathan, welcome. Fantastic to see you again. You have an interesting story to tell, but I don't want to start in the place where you want to start. People will remember you from SABC TV 1. You were a Simune 1 presenter. Explain what that was and how did you get that job?
Okay, firstly, Viva, Howie, thanks for having me on your platform. Yeah, that's a major curveball. I've spent 20 years, the last 20 years, trying to like shake that reputation off. So you've just kind of brought this all upon me now, and it's very embarrassing. And I never normally get embarrassed, but that's quite embarrassing. So basically, when I finished school, I wanted to get into television, and I had two options. One was I had an audition for Igoli, and the other was a continuity presenter on SABC 1. So I went for the interview on SABC 1 first, and half an hour later I got the call because I had to audition, and half an hour later I got the call to say, I can start, presenting on national television. I was 20 years old at the time. That was 23 years ago.
And it was a bunch of over-muscled guys and really pretty girls, and you just had lots of fun.
I had lots of fun. I enjoyed watching the soapies, to be honest, because I knew that was kind of the market that created most of the attention. So I'd be walking in Killarney Mall, and these old women would stop me and ask me what was next on Days of Our Lives and that kind of stuff. So that was my thing. But in fairness to what I was doing at the time, I actually got into a lot of trouble from my on-air presentation manager, because all I would do is actually between the links is talk about boxing. And that was and always has been my passion, and my first love is boxing. So I love the soapies. I love working as a Simunya presenter. I did it for about 4 years. I just didn't want to do it for the rest of my life. I didn't think it was a career that I really wanted to pursue long term. But it was a lot of fun. I made a lot of money when I was young. So it was just really cool.
So Craig says the SABC has never been the same ever since you left.
That's because he doesn't pay his TV license.
But let's actually talk about boxing.
Right.
I mean, you were a fantastic boxer, and you're the country's top boxing coach.
Okay, so let me just stop you there. And this is what I want to bring this major point across. I've never boxed competitively. And it's a lot of criticism that I had early in my career is that, you've never been in the ring, you've never been punched in the nose, so you don't know what we're experiencing as fighters. But I was taken to boxing gym at the age of 7, and I fell in love with the sport, and I haven't looked back. So can I box? Technically, yes. My sport growing up was judo. I did exceptionally well doing judo. Represented South Africa and I went overseas. But I stopped doing judo because I just wasn't good enough to qualify for the Olympics in Sydney 2000. And that was kind of tough because I'd spent 15 years of my life doing judo, but my first love was always boxing. So in my spare time, whenever I could get to a boxing gym, that's where I was. I would buy boxing magazines. I think I bought my first boxing magazine in 1987. I was 9 years old. And then from there, I was just hooked. So literally walked into a boxing gym at the age of 7. You got to remember something. This was during the height of apartheid. So I'd walk in and boxing they didn't care about color. They didn't care about your bank balance. They didn't care what you're wearing. They judged you not on your color, but they judged you on your skill. And I fell in love with the sport, and nothing has changed since I was 7 years old.
So Colin, in fact, the last time you were on one of our programs was, in fact, when we had Aladaka from Fouda, who's the boxer in the most recent series of Fouda, and we asked you to come on to give him some pointers.
Right. I hope you listen, because he had some good skill, but if I recall, he needed to just get a little bit more rhythm, a little bit more flow to his movements. So I hope you listen.
So there was a stage where South Africa was almost dominating world boxing. We had lots of world champions. What has happened to boxing in South Africa?
It's a good question. It really is a good question. I think, look, the sanctioning bodies hasn't helped the situation. There was a blackout in 2010 from SABC, which really crippled the sport. And what we saw was, we saw a lot of journeymen who actually were there to help build up young prospects kind of quit the sport. Now SABC is back and they're doing live broadcasts, and you can see now there's a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm back in the sport of boxing, particularly here in South Africa and in Africa. But the problem was at the time was we had a gap of, say, 7 years where we battled to build up young prospects. So the divisions were very weak, but now all of a sudden you've seen the network starting to invest in boxing again, and you see a lot of young talent coming through. Through any sport, there's always going to be ups and downs with young talent coming through. But now there seems to be a big surge of young talent coming through in South African boxing.
So who is now in your corner? Who's in the stable? And do we have world champions coming through?
Well, look, my job is, my passion is talent. I just love hanging out with talent, and my goal and my vision and my love is to put South African boxing back on the map. And I think I've done a decent job in the last 3 years, producing 3 legitimate world champions in DJ Kriel, Maruti Mtalani, and Heki Badla. And I believe that I've got a young crop of young talent coming through the ranks from the age of like 19 all the way through to 25. I've got Tariq Alali, who's the Moroccan All-Africa gold medalist. I've got Ismail Kadri, who was All-Africa junior youth silver medalist. I've got some really, really young talent. I've also got a great female, Head of Hormones, who is a South African junior welterweight champ. But my vision is to procure, and I've done so with young talent between the ages of 20 to 25, because I believe these fighters are the future of South African boxing. So in the next 5 to 10 years, you can see the Hot Box Gym and TK Africa Gym really flourishing with these young, looming talents. And you can see, I have no doubt in my mind that I will be producing more South African world champions, legitimate world champions for South African boxing, no question.
So now one of your stable gets invited to come fight in Russia. Why? What's happening in Russia that you suddenly have a fighter who's going to appear on a bill that actually Vladimir Putin is going to come watch?
Yeah, correct. You've done some good research out. So basically, you don't get invited. A matchmaker puts a fight together, and I also put fights together internationally. And we got the call, and Reino Liebenberg, who's been with me for over a decade, who is very, very close to my heart. We've been all over the world, sometimes getting the short end of the stick, and obviously we've produced some great wins here locally as well. We got the call, and let me just put the viewers in perspective. This was going to be his last fight. He's 37. He's got 3 kids, loves his family. He doesn't need the money from boxing. He's established in business, but he just genuinely loves punching people in the nose. He'll tell you that by his own admission. That's just Reino. And he always leaves it in the ring. He's never been in a dull fight. It's blood, he bleeds, and he can get dropped and he'll get back up and he'll carry on fighting. That's just the kind of character he is. But this was always going to be his last fight. So when we got a call to fight for the WBA Gold Super Middleweight Championship. It was kind of a good fee for him to fight, but we also knew that this was his last fight. So he was in good shape. We jumped on the plane. Obviously, we had to produce PCR tests. And
so where is the fight going to be? It's going to be in St Petersburg.
So we leave. So most of us did our PCR tests the day before we flew out, all negative, and we fly from Joburg to Paris to St Petersburg, and that's where the bout was going to be held, in St Petersburg. Well, it was held there, and it was part of an economic summit for Vladimir Putin, which was obviously he was heading up. And for the weigh-in, there were only the manager and the athletes were allowed to go. So that was myself and Reno, and we had to go for another PCR test. This was on the Wednesday. The contest was on the Friday. So obviously the weigh-in was 24 hours before, which is on Thursday. So we both jump in a taxi. We got this address, and we go to this lab to do our PCR tests. And later that afternoon, I get from the coordinator, who spoke really good English, on WhatsApp, on text, saying, she sends me a screenshot that I failed my COVID test. I was positive. And I was like, the first question, I was like, well, is Reno positive? She was like, no, he's negative. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I felt fine, you know? I mean, like, I traveled, so I always take a set of antibiotics with me. And I felt kind of slightly run down with a bit of flu. But I was like, you've got to be joking. There's no way, I'm not sick, you know? And then I requested a second test. Now, the second test, I still laugh about it, was literally on the side of a street. It was just bizarre, Howard. It was like one of these scenes from 007. So I met up with a coordinator, and she takes me for a walk on this busy street. And there's this black Mercedes Combi. Guy gets out, opens up an envelope with my ID on it, so my passport number on it, I can't recall. And he takes out a PCR kit. And she says to me, the coordinator says to me, you're going to have to do it yourself. I'm like, what? So I stick the thing down my throat as far as I can, because I wanted to see, like, if I am positive. Anyway, so she cuts it up. It's just bizarre. She puts it in an envelope, seals it. She says, my friend has a laboratory. We're going to send it off for testing. I said, cool. I said, I'm telling you now, I'm not sick. I'm not positive. Anyway, I went straight back to my hotel room. I isolated because I didn't want to infect anyone in case I was positive. And obviously we kept this internal amongst the team because I didn't want to get it back to South Africa before I knew that definitely I was positive. Anyway, I wake up the next morning. By this stage, I made a decision not to go to the weigh-in because I just didn't want to risk anyone else getting infected if I was positive. And then all of a sudden, at around 11 o'clock the next morning, I get a result back that I'm negative. So I'm like, great, I can work the corner, I can work the fight. The problem is my first test was recorded into the Russian National Health System. And Russian law with a foreigner is that a government-approved doctor has to be sent to my hotel room to check me out. And I have to go into hospital for observation for 24 hours. So there's no rapid testing, but this only happened 48 hours later. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this is the day of the fight. The Russian promoter is trying to stiff me. My athlete needs me. So I ended up phoning up the Russian promoter. I said, the fight's off. And he was like, well, what are you talking about? I said, my fighter's not going to fight without me. And he said to me, but because at this stage, I'm thinking they're playing me, you know, they're like trying to play games. And that's boxing. I mean, it happens. And he said to me, but Colin, your fight is negative and you positive. You know, there's nothing I can do. And then I realized that it actually had nothing to do with the promotion because you're thinking to yourself, you're thinking like, what's going on? So the doctor came to check me out. Obviously, I had to do another COVID test. And then mandatory was an ambulance coming with paramedics to come escort me out the hotel. It's like bizarre. And the manager at the hotel was trying to tell everyone that I've got an event later. Is there no ways we could do a rapid test and I could go to the event? And I'm trying to explain to him, but I've done another COVID test, even though it was like in a chop shop, you could say, and it was negative, but they weren't interested. They weren't having, and also, of course, the major issue was the language issue. I couldn't speak Russian, and they could barely speak English. So how the next thing, all I know is, and I'm messaging, and like at this stage, I'm telling my fighter that there's no ways I'm going to be in these events. I can't work his corner. And walking out of the hotel, I was literally ushered by these paramedics into an ambulance. I've never been in an ambulance in my life. And literally telling my fighter, and I, at this stage, I couldn't hug him because, you know, oh, and then we had to do another PCR test the day before that because we had to fly home and we needed 72 hours before leaving. That was mandatory as well. So that was my third test, right? So I had one positive and one negative. So the third test to go home was, we're still waiting for the results. And I'm frantically trying to get the result, because if it's negative, surely they're not gonna like admit me to hospital and I can still go to the event. Well, of course, being the situation I was in, the test wasn't ready. Well, for whatever reason, the test wasn't ready. Fast forward back, I'm in the ambulance and I'm still thinking, and the manager, the GM of the hotel, came with me. And she was a lovely woman. She spoke really good English. And I said to her, her name was Oksana, I said, why are you coming with me? And why are you being so nice? You know, like, she's like, I know Russian hospitals and I know you can't speak Russian. I'm thinking, she's saying this, and I'm thinking, well, how bad could it be, you know? Anyway, I get dropped off at this hospital, taken into a room. At this stage, the GM of the hotel obviously wasn't allowed to go with me. I get stuck into this room. I'm all alone. And eventually, like 15, 20 minutes go by. And eventually, and at this stage, my lower back is killing me. I'm in so much pain. And I'm thinking, maybe I just walked around too much and the stress or whatever, but I was in serious pain by this stage. So eventually I lie down and I'm like, listen, you know, I've got nowhere to go. I'm not going to make the events. I may as well just wait until someone comes. Eventually, like 25 minutes later, a doctor comes in. But they're wearing all the suits and everything, and you know, all the protective gear. And I'm thinking, like, this is a scene from like a horror movie. Like, what the hell's going on here? And takes the COVID test, both nose and mouth, checks my temperature, can barely speak a word of English. And in broken English, he says, kind of, wait here, someone's going to come fetch you. So I said to the guy, well, like, I've been waiting here 25 minutes. I mean, how long? Doesn't care, walks out the room, and there I am again in isolation. 15 minutes go by, 20 minutes go by. At this moment, I'm like texting back home. I'm messaging Laura saying, look, I'm here overnight. You know, I'm not going to make the fight. So when you see Raina walking out into the ring, because it was on television, it was on Supersport, you know, don't be shocked. I'm not going to be there. Anyway, eventually, a guy comes also wearing all the protective gear, starts ushering me, and I have to follow him to to my ward. And I'm thinking, okay, so I don't know what my results are, because at this stage I still don't know what my results are. Maybe I'm just here for a night and I can fly home, please God, tomorrow. Anyway, get into this ward. Now I can see there's Wi-Fi. This is what like the turning point for me. I can see there's Wi-Fi, but I can't log on. And remember, at this stage, they don't know whether I'm positive or not, but I'm in isolation in this ward, and I'm desperately trying to get onto the Wi-Fi so I can communicate with my friends and family and people back home and try and see the fight that I'm missing for the reason why I'm in St Petersburg in the first place. So eventually I walk out of the ward, and the next thing, this woman starts yelling at me in Russian. I don't know what she's saying. And I'm saying to her, ma'am, please, can you put me onto the Wi-Fi? All I need to do is just connect. And she says to me, Wi-Fi is not working. And I broke down. I was like, and I can see it on my phone. I can see there's Wi-Fi. So eventually what I do is I text the GM of the hotel, who was so good to me. And I figured out that if I had a Russian number with a code, I could get onto the Wi-Fi. And this was a big thing for me, Howard, because I didn't know at this stage how long I was going to be. And without Wi-Fi, just communicating on text, I would have gone into such a major depression. So eventually I get the code and I'm on Wi-Fi. So that was a big thing for me. So eventually I phoned a friend who, he actually ended up calling me, and he said to me, video calling me, and he said to me, Cole, I'm here by my TV. Do you want to watch the fight? And that's how I watched the fight. I mean, obviously I couldn't stream it because there was no streaming facility from in Russia for Supersport. So I ended up watching the fight in my hospital bed, seeing my fighter lose, where I felt so hopeless, and I'm thinking, man, I wish I could have been there. I just wish I could be there. I'm like thinking he needs to do this. Anyway, he ends up losing a decision, but retiring at the same time. I go to sleep. I still have this tremendous back pain, and I wake up the next morning and I've got such a bad fever, man. I'm just like shivering, and I'm really sick now. The nurses come in and they give me some sort of medication. And this stage, I still don't know whether I'm positive or not. And I'm just wondering to myself, maybe I'm feeling sick because of the stress and because I'm in this environment and it's just so uncomfortable. Eventually, and this is very funny, the head doctor of the unit comes in, and by this stage I'm on Wi-Fi, and I'd spoken to Lara, who had spoken to Dawn, who's my ex-wife, and if you guys know my family dynamics, we're still very good, very close. So between Lara and Dawn, I had all of them calling me, and at this stage I had Rabbi Ash calling me and Rabbi Radl calling me, and I had Dawn messaging me saying, the chief rabbi of Russia has spoken to the head of the unit. So by the time this doctor came in, he looked at me, he said to me, "You Colin Nathan?" So I go, "Yes." He goes, "There have been a lot of people calling me about you." So he kind of knew who I was. And so I got to say a big shout out to all the rabbis who really assisted. They were tremendous. And then the news came, he said to me, "Look, you're positive." I'm like, damn. That's like, okay, so I'm positive. So 10 days, right? That's what I'm thinking in my head, 10 days. So he said to me, "Look, Russian law with foreigners is you have to isolate in a hospital. You cannot isolate in your hotel, and you will only be discharged after testing negative." So I'm like thinking, okay, cool. So I've got 10 days. I'm here. By this stage, with the nurses and stuff, because of the Wi-Fi, I could use Google Translate, which also to a point was a nightmare, because I literally came in with an overnight bag. I had no toiletries, and it was really disgusting. I brought my credit card with, my phone and my phone charger, and one change of clothing, and that was pretty much it. I had no toothbrush, nothing. But by this stage, I was so sick, Howard, like for the first 2 or 3 days, I just couldn't get out of bed. I was just so fatigued. And anyone who's watching this who's had COVID and who's had severe symptoms knows that fatigue is something unreal. So the first 2 days was just horrific in terms of the food. I just couldn't bear eating the food. So Rabbi Ash being Rabbi Ash, and the people around me being the people around me, next thing I had the Chabad rabbi of St Petersburg calling me and saying, "We're going to send in some food," which was a game changer for me, because I'm actually working with the athletes in the moment who spent some time in incarceration. And I showed him pictures of the food from the Russian hospital, and he said to me, "Coach, that's like prison food." Like it was really, really bad. I mean, polony, which I was never going to eat because I don't eat pork, with rolls, and it was just horrific. Anyway, Chabad to the rescue. I also had protein bar sent in, protein powder sent in, vitamin sent in. I asked the one nurse to bring me some to buy me some toiletries, which they really eventually were fantastic to me. But here's the issue. The issue was, besides all the symptoms, I kept testing positive out, and it's like a joke. Like when you tell your friends, right? I have a friend who spent 4 weeks in a Russian hospital with COVID. They're going to laugh at you. It's a funny story, but it wasn't funny while I was in there. It really wasn't funny, and I was sick, man. Like
you had a few operations while you were in.
No, so yeah, I'm getting to that. That's a crazy story right at the end. So I went for CT. I first went for a chest X-ray, which was clear, and then they wanted me to do a CT scan just to make sure that my lungs were clear. On day 4, I went for a CT scan, and the doctor came back to me and said to me I had pneumonia in my left lung. And that's when I really broke down, because I know I've heard my friends, they go into hospital, they got COVID, and they've got pneumonia, then they get double pneumonia, then they're on oxygen, and then they're on a ventilator. And here I am in this foreign country, all alone, and I'm thinking, the only thing I'm thinking of is like, my kids need a father. My kids need a father. Like, and you do, and you're so isolated, and you can't speak the language. And people say, well, if you were in South Africa, you would also be isolated. It's different. So the thought of death crossed my mind, and you're going to laugh, because I was thinking, if I die in Russia, what are they going to do with my body? Because I need a Jewish burial. I mean, they need, like, I was thinking, man, it was just crazy thoughts. Like, I don't want to die. And I literally, that was the first time I broke down. I remember rolling onto my side, and I just felt the tears rolling on my forearm, and I was like, man, I just want to get out of here. That was day 4, day 5. And then obviously I went through all the symptoms of severe headache, shivers, lower back pain, severe kidney pain. The kidney pain was just something unreal. And then I kept testing positive. Day 10, I kept testing positive. So I've had 29 COVID tests, Howard. In Russia, I had 11 positive tests, 2 negatives. Remember, the first negative was like in a chop shop, so I'm not sure that was accurate because I was sick. But 3 weeks in, and the day I'm getting ready to leave, well, I think I'm getting ready to leave, 2 days before that, I tested positive. I start developing severe pain by my sinuses to the point where every time I touched, it was just killing me. So I had the head doctor, the head doctor of the unit on text, and I said to him, Doc, you got to come see me. I'm in severe pain. Like, the pain was 11 out of 10. I was just in so much pain. So he gave me a shot for the pain. He said, look, you need to go for a CT scan. Chances are, with this new virus, with the new variants, you probably got a sinus infection. And I was like, you got to be joking. I want to go. He's like, look, go for the scan. Let's see. So I went for the scan, and I had a sinus infection. And he said to me, look, there's no ways we can let you go. And then again, I started crying. I was like, why is this happening to me? And again, I had a lot of irritating friends saying, oh, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? And I just started ignoring them. Howard, I wasn't ignoring you. And you played it right. You were messaging me every few days, not every day. I got to the point where I think Laura was just so sick of me saying I was positive. And then with a sinus infection, that was because I knew, they tried antibiotics. It wasn't working. And so I had to go for sinus puncture with a general in a chair. And that really was not pleasant. I actually don't even want to describe the procedure because it's disgusting. But I had to do that twice in a chair, and it was very painful. So I knew there was no ways. So I said to the doctor, how much longer do I have to be here for? And he said to me, another week. So I'm already at 3 weeks. And I was just emotionally just broken. I wasn't depressed. I don't think I was really depressed. I did a lot of comfort eating. I put on a tremendous amount of weight when I was there. But funny enough, 4 weeks in, when I was doing that last test, I knew I was going to, something inside me just said, nah, today's the day you're going to test negative. This is a Thursday. So I knew the routine, Howard. So every morning they come at 7:15, and they would not knock on the door. They would literally slam open the door, turn on the lights, and you would have to wake up. I was also on 2 antibiotic strips, and I was taking 3 shots of whatever they were giving me. And I trust the Russian medicine and drug system. What they were giving me obviously helped and worked because I was getting better. And when I tested negative, I started crying. So there were 3 moments when I started crying. When I got pneumonia, when they told me that I had a sinus infection and I had to be in hospital for another week, and on my negative test because then I knew it was my freedom to go home and then go back to the hotel, spend 2 nights there and fly home. And it was Viva time. It was time to be with my kids and family and my friends who I missed. I missed everyone so much.
So, Carl, I want to talk about Chabad and what Chabad did for you while you were there.
So they were fantastic. It's interesting because I was speaking to Dawn last night, and she said to me, were you laying tefillin in the hospital? So I said, so I brought my tefillin bag with me to Russia, but obviously everything was in my hotel, and they had to fog my hotel room. They had to take everything out, and they had to put it in a special storeroom in the facility in the hotel where I was staying at. So everything was packed up there. And when I spoke to the rabbi, I said, look, I put on tefillin every day. Is there any way I could borrow a pair from the shul? So, Struisgard, but Howard, they literally brought in a thing of tefillin for me, and I was laying tefillin, and all my food was kosher, except my supplements, but that's whey powder and protein bars and my vitamins. But Chabad were just, the outreach was fantastic. The rabbi was calling me every second day or messaging me every day as well. Rabbi Ash, Rabbi Roddle. There was just so much love and support, you know, and I've got to give big respect and credit to those guys because the outreach was incredible. I honestly, as soon as I started eating, I don't want to say proper food because, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm arrogant or ungrateful for what the hospital was giving me, but that's their system. But I was just so weak on the food that I was eating there for the first 2-3 days. As soon as I started eating the food that was being sent in for me, I started feeling better. Like I really, really started feeling better. And they were just fantastic. They really were fantastic.
Colin Nathan, thank you for sharing your story with us this evening. It is such a remarkable story of resilience, number one, and of uncertainty. And who would have thought a young, fit athlete, coach would land up in a position like that? I mean, we spoke while you were in hospital in Russia, and you kept on telling me, tomorrow's going to be the day. You're sure you're going to be negative tomorrow? But it took a long time for tomorrow to come.
It did, Howard. And again, I also want to thank you for the love and support, dude. You played it right. You know, you weren't annoying like some of my mates. You know, you're messaging every second or third day. So big respect to you and thanks for caring. I really am grateful.
But really important, I think the message that you gave me was that we all are part of one big family and one part of a big community. And the role that Chabad in South Africa played and the way they activated the chief rabbi of Russia and the way you were cared for really made you feel part of one big, great community.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I could just finish off by saying the power of being Jewish and the power of being a Jew and how people genuinely care. And I am teasing my friends saying they were irritating me because some of them were, but a lot of my friends were reaching out and it was coming from a really good place. I was just in a very frustrating place, but the power of being Jewish is something unbelievable. And yeah, I mean, you know, I'm very proud to be Jewish. I'm certainly not religious like I used to be, but the power of being a Jew and the power of the connection of Jews is something special, and it's something that I will always remember during my 4 weeks in that hospital.
Colin Nathan, thank you for joining us this evening. Really appreciate it. Amazing story.
Thank you.
And before we move on to our next story, which is this amazing story that Dina and Kimmy K are going to take us through, we want to thank Dear Link, who are sponsors of tonight's broadcast. So, Danny, please can we see their advert?
I'm only one call away.
Hi everyone, especially hi to Dear Link family. I want to appreciate what you've done for me for the last 2 years. There are no words to describe it. And keep going. Well done.
Hello, this is such a special message and I so greatly appreciate it. Thank you for all that you and your team do. There are not enough words to fully express how far you go and how many lives you touch. Sending lots of love to you and your family. God bless. Bye.
Hi, my name is Amanda Mulapisi. I've been with the Dear Link since 2017. I really appreciate the help that I get from Dear Link. Whenever I need transport for my hospital appointments, Dear Link is always there. And I also miss the meetings, the Tuesday meetings, where we talk and encourage each other and support each other. Dear Link, you're doing a good job. Keep up the good job, Dear Link. Forward you go.
Listeners, Gabby Joseph goes out of his way to help all the people, and I'm basically recovered, but during the course, but even now, still have wonderful interaction with him. He goes out of his way to help people, and only wish them Muslim bracha.
I'm Michelle Goodman, Director of the Dear Link. We'll go to any lengths, even in red overalls and masks, to show commitment to our warriors. I'd like to thank you, the community, our generous donors, for recognizing the need for our organization and for your ongoing generous support.
When you feel like hope is gone, just run into my arms. I'm only one call away. I'll be there to save the day. Superman got nothing on me. I'm only one.
Thanks, Danny. So let's ask Dina and DJ Kimmy K to turn on their cameras. And with that, the floor is yours and I'll turn off mine.
Perfect. Thank you, Howie. Kimmy, it is so wonderful to have you back. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So as Howie did mention, the last time you were on one of our webinars, you won the Bachelor, we believe. So as we said, we shan't discuss it further. That's all we're going to say. But really happy to have you on. And now, Kimmy, tell us. So you are known as DJ Kimmy K. But a DJ is, I mean, it's not really your average Jewish Joburg girl kind of career to sort of pursue. What made you become a DJ?
So I was actually, my background is actually management consulting. I got a BCom in information systems and economics, and I worked as in management consulting, doing mergers and acquisitions and business process optimization and lots of different industries and different things in consulting. And I did that for about 14 years. And then by accident, total accident, I mean, I've always been interested in music, but never really felt like this is kind of something that you can make a career out of. And then somebody asked me to play as a favor. I was playing vinyl, I was playing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And they asked me to play out at this club. And I was like, no, I'm a bedroom DJ. And then I played and it just blew up from there. So I by accident, like kind of moved from management consulting into DJing, and it became my career.
So quite the difference, I would say. So where do you play? How does it work? Where have you played? How long have you been a DJ?
So I've been DJing, I think professionally since about 2013. Properly 2013, I was still balancing management consulting and DJing, which was crazy because I was consulting during the day and DJing at night and flying this place to DJ on the weekend and then flying back for meetings. So it was a bit crazy. So I did have to make a decision. And then I think about the end of 2014, I started DJing professionally. I play everywhere. I will literally play on the side of the streets. Or if it means that I get to listen to music and I can play for people and I can make people happy, I will play. So I play festivals, I play launches, I play clubs. Not that clubs are open at the moment, but bars, absolutely anything and everything. I play for fitness classes. I'm playing one at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning if anyone wants to come to stay. So I play fitness classes. I'm playing at a fitness class at 8 o'clock in the morning. Can you believe it? That's during my sleep time. So in Ilovo, Bar Buddy, Pure Motion Fitness. Anyone wants to come tomorrow? I think the class is already full, but
Amazing. So tell me, so where is the craziest place you've ever played?
Oh my word. Crazy as in like the
track, but maybe different country, different.
I've I played in Tomorrowland, which was actually the last Tomorrowland before COVID, which was 2019. And that was incredible because
I think just
that's
explain
something.
to people what Tomorrowland is, because I mean, for anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's insane.
Right. So Tomorrowland is one of the biggest music festivals, if not the biggest music festival in the world, which brings in about 200,000 people on a I think the daily basis, and there's 2 different weekends. So I never ever dreamt in my wildest dreams that I would ever play at such an event. And Budweiser they contacted me and they said, you know, do you have a passport? Do you have a Schengen visa? And I was like, where's this going? And they said, would you like to play? I was like, would I? And yeah, I mean, that was it. I mean, it was such an incredible, unique experience. I think that's the craziest space or place that I've ever played in. I've played in Ibiza, and I've played in all across Africa and all across South Africa, of course. So yeah, I think Tomorrowland was my most craziest experience.
That is crazy, because I'm dying to go to Tomorrowland. It looks insane. It's probably on my bucket list, but I think the older I get, the further it moves off my bucket list.
You can always do it. You are never, that's the thing about music, is that you're never too old for any type of music or concert or anything like that. I don't think there's an age limit to music.
Amazing. So now you talked about playing in Africa, but you have a crazy story, which you mentioned to me, by the way. I mean, I've known you for years. I never knew this about you. And I think it's just the maddest story. So you have a very specific tale about being in Nigeria when you weren't DJing before, in your previous life, as the total opposite, as a management consultant. So tell us about that story.
Right. So I was working for a client, and we were implementing a project in 17 different African countries. I was their African footprint at the time. And this specific, Nigeria was one of the countries that we had to implement. And I was asked to go over and oversee the actual implementation, which is, by the way, a 48-hour long implementation with very little sleep and a lot of people. So it was a very, very hectic implementation, but so I was asked to go over there and oversee it. And I'd been to Nigeria a number of times before, and no problem, absolutely fine. I had been to parties and I'd been clubbing in Nigeria, and which was a very interesting, unique experience. And I got to see the amazing elite side of Nigeria. And when you land, for anyone who hasn't been to Nigeria before, when you land there, first of all, the passport control is crazy. You can spend 3-4 hours there just to get through passport control. That's normal. And then when you leave there, you are followed, if you are organized and you do know, the company is very organized. You have a police car behind you and a police car in front of you, and you have a whole, it's not just for presidents and the ministers, you have a whole car. What do you call it?
Motorcade, an entire
motorcade.
So basically, you're a Cyril Ramaphosa when you get to Nigeria.
Right. And you feel very special, but it is very necessary when you get there. So I mean, the story is pretty long, so I'm going to try and keep it relatively short and give you the highlights. I was with my team that had been working on the project tirelessly. And when we got to our accommodation, I think it was 12 o'clock at night, eventually with police car behind and in front, there's something wrong with the accommodation. There was no space for me. So I was like, well, I've been here before. I will go to stay at a hotel. When you do go there, you get a bodyguard, also known as a protocol officer. So I'd been given our team had been given a protocol officer, but obviously I'd split up and gone to another location to stay the night. And that protocol officer wasn't the person to pick me up in the morning. So at 9 o'clock the next morning, I'm sitting there, I'm going, where am I supposed to be? No one knows I'm not at work. Anyway, long story short, someone comes to pick me up, a protocol officer, and we're on our way to work. And what looks like the police jump in front of our cars. They've got big guns. Hard to say what type of gun it was, AK-47, rifle, whatever. Not important. So, so they pull us over and they say, told me to get out, put a gun to my head and say, get out the car. And because I was sitting in the front with the protocol officer. I get out the car and they say, we're arresting you for making an illegal U-turn, which for anyone who's been to Nigeria, there's no such thing, that practically no road signs there. So they just wanted a bribe, and they asked initially for 5,000 naira, which I think in today's day and age, like 180 Rand equivalent. And I didn't have I was like none the wiser. And anyway, they made me get back into the back of the car, and the policeman got in with us. And they made us follow this car with other policemen on for about an hour and a half outside of Lagos. Now, bear in mind that this is 2010. So let me put this in context. There was no iPhone. I had a BlackBerry. There was no share location. So we're stopping, going, people are shouting. I'm sitting at the back going, SOS, please help me. Not to my mom, because my mom would have freaked, as a Jewish mom would, as any mom would. But to my clients, to the people that I work for, please help me. This is what's happened. They're arresting us, taking us to the police station for an illegal U-turn. And they were trying to negotiate. They took my phone at one stage, so I didn't have a phone. Anyway, an hour and a half later, we pull up to these gates. Doesn't look like a police station, but I give the benefit of the doubt. And we drive in, and it's like an abandoned, it's like a junkyard. It's like a junkyard with people that are not in police uniform with guns. And they made us drive all the way back to like the back end of the junkyard. And we parked like in between like 3 pieces of junk. And the security guy, the policeman, gets out. And out of sheer panic and out of reaction, I don't know why, I was like, what's going on? I can't do this now. I'm late for work. That's okay, but no. But I was panicking. I was literally like,
late for work. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I'm thinking in my mind. I was like, I'm not going to make it through this. Like, no one knows where I am, where I've gone, and no one will ever find me. And just, out of sheer panic, it was like, no, I can't do this. Late for work. And I said, what do they want? And he literally said to me, 300. They want money. And I said, how much? And he said, $300, which is exactly the amount that I had on me in cash in an envelope, which the company had given to me. So he was definite. Well, can't say for definite, but kind of like, oh, you knew how much money I had on me. And out of, I think sheer like justice in my head, because I'm a justice kind of person, and wrong is wrong and right is right. I kind of said, I don't have $300 on me, but I did. It was like, I don't have $300 on me. And I stuck my hand in the envelope and I pulled out a 20 and a 50. And I opened my wallet, my purse, and I pulled out whatever was in there, which was, I think, 300 Rand. And I said, to the protocol officer, I was like, this is all I have. And he took that and he got out of the car and he left me. So there I was in somewhere in Nigeria, in Lagos, well, outside of Lagos, in a car on my own, thinking to myself, okay, I've watched MacGyver. We know I've watched MacGyver. Like, what's going to happen? Anyway, the CIO of the company called me and he said to me, don't worry, Kim, we're coming to get you. Just tell us where you are. And I was like, well, I'm in a junkyard. And he said, well, are there any road names? And I said, well, I'm in a junkyard parked between 3 pieces of junk, so no road names. But there are guys, there were about 10 to 12 guys standing outside of the car, and I said, you know, with guns, and I said, I will ask them where we are, and he said, no, don't do that. Anyway, eventually the guy, my driver gets back into the car, the protocol officer, and the most massive guy I've ever seen in my life gets into the passenger seat, and we start reversing. And in my head, I'm like, never let them take you to the third destination, the second destination. Now we're on the third. Like, this is ridiculous. And I'll never forget this. The guy's name was Diamond. Seriously,
No relation.
No relation. How mad is that? But his name, that was his name. His name was Diamond. I'll never forget that. And he actually had to sit like this in the car because he was so tall. He was so big. And we start reversing and we start going and we drive off. And then he started shouting at this guy for not getting a receipt for the bribe money.
Oh, is that what they do in Nigeria? They ask for receipts for bribe money. That's very commercial of them.
Well, I was like, okay, where's the candid camera? Where's, like, this is not real. And then I didn't know who was who. You know, you in that situation, because literally in that junkyard, no one would ever have found me. And my worry was like, what, you know, not where I would end up, but what would happen to me before. So I was just good to be going, but where are we going? And he was like, we're going to the office. And I was like, you need to give me a good description of what the office means. Anyway, landed up back at headquarters, and you know, the CIO sat me down and he said to me, are you okay? And at the time I was like, yeah, no, I'm fine. Perfect. But it does kind of affect, you know, you get PTSD and you do kind of get affected after that, you know. It does kind of stick with you. And I remember the company actually made me take leave because, you know, it was kind of in the States. So yeah, I mean, you've got to know, and not to take away from Nigeria as a place, because I have, as I said, been there several times, and it was amazing, and the people are amazing. It just happened to be that it's just one of those situations that doesn't usually happen. That happened.
So, and in terms of like, so you went back to the office. Did you actually work that day?
I did. I worked that day, and I think that was a Friday, and I worked that full weekend, which was the actual implementation, which was, you know, very, very crazy. But I was very much protected with the MD's bodyguard in a black ML Mercedes. Like, it was probably bulletproof, I would say. They were not taking any more chances. That's all I'm going to say.
And then how much later did you leave Nigeria?
Sorry.
And then also, I want to know, did you actually file a police report? So if something like that happens, you get kidnapped, you get only like taken for money. Is it just normal occurrence? They don't care, or do the police actually come and they take a statement? What, like, does anything happen?
It was, so the police didn't come and take a statement. Well, the police took me. They were in police uniform, and the vehicle in front of me said government official, but like a spray painted government official kind of vibe. They didn't come take a statement. I had to do an affidavit when I landed back in Johannesburg with the company, because they had taken I'd given them company money, partly my money, partly company money. But so I had to do an affidavit. But there was nothing, you know, it is a common occurrence in Nigeria. And I read actually today, because I was just looking up for interest's sake, if it's been on the increase or on the decrease. And recently, I mean, there were, I think, in the first part of 2021, there were about 3,000 kidnappings. And this is more, I mean, I look at my kidnapping as kind of a lucky kind of like upper class kidnapping, if you would say that, because you know, people get kidnapped and they get taken. I think mine lasted for about 5 hours. People get kidnapped and they get taken for like weeks, some of them months. So I find my situation is very fortunate, and I can look back on it and we can laugh about it and we can reflect. But in actual fact, it's happening at the moment. And I read an article today about people kidnapping little babies from hospitals. So hospitals and places like that used to be safe havens and nothing would happen. But in actual fact, they've recently started taking babies because they say people pay quicker when they take babies from their mothers. I mean, it's just, it's horrendous. It's quite, yeah, it's horrendous. And so if anything, I'm hoping that my story actually, you know, puts light on the plight of the Nigerian people, of the local people, and just to try and fix that situation, because it does happen often. It's happened to friends of mine. I've got a lot of Nigerian friends, and a lot of people in Nigeria. So, yeah,
and I'm saying, you said to me that you would actually, so you haven't been back since?
I haven't, but I would go back. But now I know, I've been through it. I know the proper protocol. So that's what I would say to people. It's the same as traveling to anywhere in the world. You research the place that you're going to, you know, the different cultures and the different things that happen there. People say the worst things about South Africa. And I think that, you know, we do have high crime here, but it's not a, you know, a circus. It's people travel here all the time and they travel here safely. You have to be vigilant and you have to know where you're going, and you have to probably be with a local. So I would say that, yeah, if you are going to Nigeria, make sure that you are super sorted. Somebody's meeting you at the airports. The police are traveling in front and behind you from the airport. And that somebody's taking care of you from beginning to end.
Sure. No, I mean, that is a crazy, crazy story. So thank God you're safe. We're getting messages saying, so hectic, Kimmy, thank God you're safe now. I mean, seriously. And also you still just kept your head about you. And I know you are a fighter for justice, and don't give up easily. But I mean, your attitude's amazing. So thank God you are safe. And I mean, the skyline behind you is Nigeria. Is that Lagos?
So the skyline is Lagos during Art Week. And, you know, it's such an interesting place and with interesting dynamics. Like if you drive into Lagos from the airport, you drive on a bridge that kind of looks like you're in Miami. It's that bridge with the water on either side, but it looks like a different kind of Miami. You know, it's not as bright and as blue, but it's crazy to see that. And you've got the super wealthy there, and you've got the super poor, and then you've got everything in between. It's such a, and the traffic. Oh my word! If anyone ever goes to Nigeria and you want to go to the airport, if your flight is at 10 p.m., you need to leave by 2 p.m. Like otherwise you will just not make it. The traffic is just like bumper to bumper. You also can't walk in the roads there. Like people just drive. They just drive different directions. There's no traffic signs there. People just drive. So it was one of my more interesting, crazy experiences of my consulting career.
I would say so. And in terms of like, so now but you also, I'm sure you've been asked to DJ in also crazy places. Are there places you're saying that you wouldn't go because of safety?
So I would, as I say, I would DJ anywhere. I'm quite the daredevil, it seems. So I played in Pemba in December. That sounds like a song, but it's not. I played in Pemba, and I landed up not actually playing in the end because there's a lot of violence and a lot of people, a lot of politics in that area, and a lot of people taking over in that area, and it was like yes, we're playing, no, we're not, yes, we're playing, and a lot of also kidnapping. So actually, when they asked me to play there in Mozambique, in Pemba, I said to them, what about the kidnappings? Because I'd played there, and they're like, no, it's fine. But actually it wasn't fine, and there was a lot of helicopters going around and around, and in the end, I didn't end up playing, which was very sad because it was a massive setup. So yeah, DJing is dangerous. apparently so is management consulting, but
so either career, which are the opposite ends of the spectrum. But thank you for sharing the story. I think, it's an incredible story, and to have gone through that, as I said, I didn't even know that about you, but it really is like fascinating. And I've never been to Nigeria, but you hear stories all the time, so you've added a lot of light and clarity in terms of, if you ever do go, then phone Kimmy, she'll tell you how to sort
phone me, I'll sort you out.
Big Nigeria.
100%. Last name Diamond. Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Kimmy.
Thank you for having me.
Next up on your stories. But thank you, DJ Kimmy K. And we'll reach on for another webinar.
What an amazing story.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and for letting me tell everyone my story. I've told it so many times now, it's just easier. Now everyone knows. Thank you so much.
Exactly. Thanks. Okay, and Peter, over to you.
Thanks so much, Dina. Thanks. Bye-bye, Kimmy. The story we're going to tell now is very different to anything you've heard before tonight. And I must say, when Gabby from King David, from the Board of Jewish Education, contacted Tully, who works with us, to tell her the story, I was absolutely gobsmacked. It was the most amazing story, but I'm not going to tell it to you. I'm going to let Noah and Reg tell the story. And you'll find out as we get onto the story why tonight is such a monumental occasion for these two people. Because despite the fact that their lives have connected through a particular hanky, they've never met before. Noah, tell us, how did you find out about the maroon hanky and Reg's grandmother Ruth?
Hello, thanks for having me. Hi, Reg.
Hi, Noah. Good to meet you finally. Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you. So I came across Ruth's story while participating in the Chapman University Creative Writing Competition, where there were multiple testimonies where we could listen to or watch, and we could write a piece about it. And I don't know, I just connected with Ruth somehow, and I'm like a very sentimental person as well. So I like related to that in a way.
Did you watch a whole lot of Holocaust survivors' testimonies, or did you watch Ruth's testimony and it somehow got to you?
So every single Holocaust survivor's story is important and needs to be remembered. I watched like a few minutes of each video, and I don't know, with Ruth's video, it just clicked in a way.
Okay, what was it about the video what was it about her story that resonated with you?
Her love for everyone around her, and her relationships and her care for so many people. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I like strive towards.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to give a little, a précis of her story so that the people watching get an idea of what happened to Ruth?
I'm happy to as well, Noah, if you, whatever you feel most comfortable with.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, first of all, Noah, I'd like to say that my grandmother, her name is Ruth, and she just passed away in April. She was always very stylish. And I'd like to think that her very stylish red jacket is what lured you in the thumbnail from her testimony. That I think she did the testimony in the 80s, and her outfit very much resembled that. But hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Reg Tigerman. I live in Los Angeles, and my grandmother is Ruth Holbreich. And your question was, what was her journey? And she, like I said, she just passed away in April, but she had an incredible life. She was born in Warsaw, Poland, and was in Warsaw until 1944. And so was there when the war started. She was in the Warsaw Ghetto with her father, and some siblings were in Russia. And she, during the war, she was in the ghetto. She then got moved and hidden in a convent in Warsaw, and then went into a German labor camp where she was posing as a German and worked in a labor camp. And finally, when the war ended, that's where she found herself. She met her husband, my grandfather, Sig, very shortly after, who was a Holocaust survivor, was in 4 camps in 5.5 years, I think it is. And they met in Germany, and they eventually made their way to the States, where they lived in Cleveland, Ohio, and then they moved to Los Angeles in the 50s, I think it was, at the late 50s. Yeah, that was her life.
And the significance of this maroon hanky.
So for me, so as I said, my grandmother passed away in April. She was 94 years old, lived an amazing life. And I know everyone thinks they have the best grandmother, but I had the best grandmother of anyone. She was sweet and loving. And if you watch her testimony, extremely smart. When she passed away, I rewatched her testimony with my wife as a celebration, and just to remember her. And at the very end, even before I hadn't seen Noah's poem, and at the end she mentions this maroon handkerchief, and it's at the end. So Noah had watched 45 minutes of this already, and she says, my father, before I left the ghetto, when he sent me to the convent, he gave me this maroon handkerchief, just as a memento. And it turned out that was the last time she ever saw her father. She doesn't know what happened to him, if he died in the ghetto or if they took him to a camp, or what happened to him. And she said in that testimony that she still has that handkerchief. And so I texted my mom, who was starting to go through her things, and I said, look out for a maroon handkerchief. And a few days later, she found it. And it was just this amazing thing that we had a memento, not just from my grandmother, but from her father, from the war. And it was just a really special thing for all of us. And so that was the meaning of the handkerchief. Yeah.
And Noah, sorry. And Noah, so for you watched this 45-minute testimony, and you were inspired by this woman, but you wrote, your focus was this maroon hanky. Tell us about that. Tell us why. What happened for you?
So for me, I am a very sentimental person. My friends always laugh at me about it. And I just felt like that was something that connected me with her. And from that point in the testimony, where she mentions the maroon hanky, it just really sunk in that this horror story happened to a real person. People shouldn't have to go through things like that.
I agree. Why don't you do us a favor and just read the poem to us? I think it's a gift to our audience.
Maroon hanky, clearly pressed and folded, it was placed into my hand, a last token of a soon-to-be memory. I received a maroon hanky. I didn't know the value of an object until I had one. I didn't know the value of people until I had none. But my one object carried all the worth in the world, a maroon hanky. I don't know what happened to him. All I know is the walls were rising, and there were bombs, more people dying, and Warsaw was in flames, red, licking flames, like the color of my maroon hanky. We watched from the window, havoc unleashed on our home, yet we were the opportune. We were on the right side of the window pane, the side where we still wore silky dresses made by the sisters, the same silk of my maroon hanky. I was lucky, not because I was saved, but because I learned the true meaning of love. His love was sewn into my heart, the same way I held the hanky so tight at night that its fibers have sewn into the fibers of my skin. Because of my father's honor, I survived. Because of his love for us, he died. He sacrificed it all so we could breathe the air of freedom. To the man who gave to me the thing that has carried all of my tears, a maroon hanky, his maroon hanky.
That is absolutely beautiful. And Reg, how did you find this? How did you find this poem that won the competition for Noa? How did you find it all the way in America?
My mom sent me a link to a PDF for presentation from the 1939 Club, which is an organization of what started as Holocaust survivors, and now it's Holocaust survivors and relatives and friends, friends of survivors. And I'm looking through the document. My mom sent an email, hey, Nanny's mentioned on page 30 something. And I stumble upon, and I go to page whatever it was, and I read a maroon hanky. And I read the title, and I'm just, every step of the way, I just kind of get a little blown back by the detail. It's a poem called The Maroon Hanky, and I start reading it, and I realize what it's about. It's about my grandmother and this handkerchief, and I'm just blown away how beautiful it is, how eloquent it is, and how appropriate it was, because I got it probably a month or so after my grandmother had passed. It was amazing to read it. Not only was it about this maroon handkerchief, about my grandmother, but this poem won first place in this competition. And it was just an unbelievable confluence of events that, as you were overwhelmed with emotion, so was I. And it was really incredible to see. And the thought of my grandmother having just missed this by a month, she could have read this poem, and she could have, because the poem has been, I think, Noa, you wrote it a year ago. But something about the universe gave us this poem, and, got it into our world a month after she passed. There was something sad, but also really beautiful about it, and about keeping her memory alive. So it was.
And also, I mean, it connected you to young girl in South Africa. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been here, but I mean, it's halfway around the world.
Yeah.
What did you think about this girl who was so captivated by what your mother had said to write a poem?
I mean, everything I've said before, just how lucky. First off, how, as Noa said so eloquently, everyone's story is worth sharing and remembering, and how lucky my grandmother is, and my family is, to have someone like Noa share this story in that way. I am also I'm a talent manager. I work with comedians and writers, and so to see such a great talent as Noa made me even prouder just because I work in that. I work in this field, so I encourage Noa to keep doing. And I said this to her over email before. Keep doing. You're amazing, and keep doing what you're doing. And
so Reg,
yeah,
it inspired you to try and contact her.
Yeah.
How did you do that? What did you do?
The job of a talent manager is to connect your client with people and get their story heard. And so it's what I do late at night. I Google and try and get inspired. And I saw the name of this teacher and the school that Noa on the poem, Noa's teacher, and I found the website of the school, and there wasn't an email for the teacher, but I kind of guessed it based on another email that was on the website. And literally in 12 hours, I got an email back from the teacher and then from Noa's mom, and it just snowballed from there.
That's amazing. And Noa, how did you react when you heard that Reg had tried to contact you, and that there was anybody around in the world connected to Ruth that had heard this, had read your poem?
So for me, I don't get emails on my phone. I get it on my laptop. So my mom had messaged me and she said to me, Noakes, she calls me Noakes. She said, Noakes, go on your laptop. I was like, okay, kind of freaking out a little bit. And then I saw this email and I was like speechless. I didn't even know what to say. After hearing Ruth's testimony, I tried to figure out if she was still alive or not. So I did a bit of Googling, and I think this would be incorrect, but I thought that based off my Googling that she had passed away in the 1990s. So when reading the email and knowing that, no, she lived on to be a grand and lived this full and incredible life made me so happy. But I was gutted to hear that she passed away, even though we hadn't.
My question to you, because you wrote the poem a year and a half ago, right? So was it, and I know when I was your age, years or so long, was it part of your distant past, this poem, or was it still kind of fresh in your memory?
The poem, I will never forget. It gave me confidence to carry on writing. When I wrote the poem, I had just moved schools, and my school's King David Linksfield, and the teachers encouraged me to write the poem. I'd never done any creative writing before that. So wow. The poem will be engraved in my heart and my memory forever.
I think for all of us, but I think no more than for the two of you. There's just something, and if you'd rather I didn't read this, Noa, please say so. But can I read two sentences from a letter you sent to Reg? She taught me, Ruth's story has had a life-changing impact on myself, and I'm sure many others who came in contact with her, listening to her testimonials and hopefully had the chance to read my poem tribute to her. She taught me the importance of relationships. She cared for everyone around her. Her relationship with Ausness inspired me because I too have a little sister who I love and hope my little sister feels protected by me, like Ruth protected Ausness, etc. I mean, it clearly moved you extensively. And I wish I could carry on and talk because the two of you have a lot to tell us. But there are two more people who are going to be speaking tonight, and I'm going to now thank you both very, very much.
Can I just say one last thing? Yes. One, thank you, Noa. And two, I just have to say, the neon sign behind me says custom framing, and that my grandparents, when they moved to the States, they started a frame store which they ran for decades, and this neon sign sat in their store in Los Angeles. So I just wanted to add that as a plug, just so
amazing
people were aware. But I'm very proud of that.
Thank you both very, very much. And now I am going to hand over.
I think Noah has one last thing.
Yes.
Sorry, one last thing.
Yes.
Reg, it was really incredible meeting you, and your email and everything that came from it has really changed me for the better. And thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And I'm now handing over to Benji, who is going to be interviewing our very last storyteller. Benji?
Thank you, Petra. It was such it's beautiful to take over from that. Adam, welcome.
Thank you.
Benji, all good.
Thank you for making it. I know you've got a bright and early start tomorrow, because that's what runners do. But just for our viewers, just to get a bit of context, this is no social runner. His 5K PB is 13 minutes 33. So just I like to put it in context that people understand. Go to your nearest treadmill, go put it on 24, I think it is. Hey, Adam, go put it on 24, and just don't do it without a solo round. His 10K PB is 28 minutes and 27 seconds. Yeah, you heard me right, 28 minutes, 27 seconds. His half marathon, which actually got my interest in Adam, where I saw him tweeting, I saw someone tweeting about it, is 1 hour and 1 minute. 21 Ks in 1 hour, 1 minute. Lots of people can't do that on a bike. Adam, it's remarkable. I know chatting to you has been really fun. Just tell us, where did all the running begin? How did it start?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me, Benji. And thanks for the SA Jewish report. I ran in school. I ran in primary school. I ran through high school. I sort of got more into it in my later high school years. And I excelled then. I started representing the country in track and field from grade 11 and 12. And through that, it's been up and down with injuries or so on, but we're here now and we're sort of entering my peak now. So I'm giving it all I've got at the moment.
So who's been your biggest inspiration in your running?
No one. I don't look up to anyone, to be honest. It's more of an individual sport, but yeah, you obviously have grown with a lot of friends through the running ranks. We started with a lot of people when we were juniors, when we were in high school, and to see those guys excel at the moment. For instance, Akani, Simbini, I'm sure you saw him at the Olympics. Yeah, we were in university together, and to see where we came from and where everyone's going, that's pretty motivating.
Adam, you came within a whisker of qualifying for the Olympics. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so it wasn't really
just so that everyone understands, because he's a modest guy. I've worked out he's a very modest guy. So Adam's time for his 5K, for his 5 kilometer PB was about 2 minutes 39, 2 minutes 40 a K. Hey, Adam. And to qualify, to qualify for the Olympics, you need to run, if you had run 2 minutes 37, that's 3 seconds, a 3-second difference per K. Just that's
Correct.
How close he was. And so talk us through that and some of those experiences.
Yeah, so obviously lockdown last year sort of ruined the whole season for most of us. It sort of ended in March, and that's normally when the track season begins. So I was in very good shape then. I was looking forward to something good, and that was Olympic year, but that got cut short. So then going into this year, everyone was rested. You hadn't overtrained, you'd be resting, chilling, not doing too much. And I just had targets to beat. They were targeted last year. I wanted to beat time-wise. So I just delayed it another year. But we achieved those targets very soon, very quickly. So then I went down to the next target. And then the next target. And getting down to those targets, we got very close to qualifying for the Olympics. I was about automatic qualifying. I was about 17 seconds off, but I could have qualified if I was about 9 seconds or 10 seconds. I could have gotten through a ranking system, but it was never the plan. I never planned to qualify this year, and that was for the 5,000 meters. I think at the moment I'm ranked about 110 in the world for that. And yeah, it wasn't the plan. 2024 is obviously the plan. I want to do the marathon there, but it just shows that I was quicker than I thought.
So talk us a little bit through this year. You've had a remarkable year. You placed really highly in the half marathon champs. Did fantastically in the 10K.
Yeah, so
talk us through those races.
This year was very good. I don't really like running with sparks on the track. I've had Achilles problems in the past. So I've avoided the track for many years. I've just stayed at the road, but I decided, there's new technology out, as you know, with the shoes, and they're basically road shoes with a spark plate underneath now. So they do have a lot of support for your heel. So I thought, let me give that a try. I went back on the track. I raced a lot in Stellenbosch this year. I raced in Cape Town, raced in PE, raced in Pretoria. And the start of the track, there's an academy up in Stellenbosch that hosts track races, and it's obviously perfect conditions there at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. There's no wind. It's 12, 13 degrees, perfect running conditions. So we're able to run very quick there. That was very nice.
Talk us through some of those times. What's, for us real social runners, quick is 4.5 or 3.5 minutes a K, like is unheard of. Tell us what quick is.
So there, we went the 1 week I ran 13:47 for 5K. Yeah, that was my best time at the time. I came back, I think 2 weeks later we went back. I ran 13:33. I was getting faster. The only problem is the races sort of ran out. There was a bit of politics involved with the South African Athletics Administration, and there was no events happening, and it became a bit of a mess up. So that, I believe that was the issue, that I didn't have a race to qualify for the Olympics. And then, was in Pretoria for the SA Championships. Obviously, that's at altitude for us coastal guys. And I was happy. I was very impressed with that. I came second in the 10 kilometers on the track. I ran 29:30. It was tactical, but I was very, I knew my shape was there if I'm running that at altitude. And then 3 weeks after that was the SA Half Marathon Championships. So that's the one I'd been training for, even through the SA Champs for the 10. It's a very similar training program, but it's obviously a bit more mileage. And so that race, the plan was to run under 62. I was in that shape. Anything over that, I wouldn't have been satisfied. So that race started off, for us, it started off quite slow. I don't know if you watched the race. At 10Ks, the commentators were complaining about a pedestrian pace and it's too slow. We still went through 29:50 at 10Ks.
Yeah. I was just going to say, just so everyone understands, pedestrian was 29 minutes 50 for 10Ks.
So they weren't too impressed when I watched the race back. And then after about 14Ks, we're all happy. We're all sitting in the front there, no one doing too much. At 14Ks, it sort of warmed up a bit. And we started racing, and I ended up coming fourth. in that race. It was the last 900 meters where I just couldn't stick with the group or the leader. We covered those last 3Ks in 8 minutes and 7 seconds, which is quicker than the 5K time that I ran a few weeks before the pace. So that's not pedestrian, the last 3Ks. So yeah, it was that really showed where the shape was. The last 10Ks, so the first 10 was 29.50, but if you take the last 10, we ran 28.20.
Unbelievable.
Which is, yeah. So that showed me where my shape was. But after that, there was one more race they wanted to help a guy named Precious. He ran the 5,000 at Olympics. He wanted to try and qualify. He needed some help. There's not too many people that can run that pace in the country. That was at Sea Point. So I said, I'll assist. That was about 3 weeks later. Went there and then called it a season. And I took a few weeks off, and I've pulled back up now and will be back running in October.
But Adam, you missed a very interesting thing that you did, that you took part and you were a pace setter in a successful world record attempt at 50Ks. Talk us through that, what your job was and kind of the pace that you had to do.
Yeah, so that was there was a Nedbank sponsored a record attempt in Port Elizabeth, around Summer Strand. Yeah, Summer Strand. They had a loop of 10Ks up and down that road there. And yeah, I was invited to come and help pace make the record attempt. So my job was to pace to 30Ks. So that's a bit slower, obviously, for my pace, but obviously those guys are at their max. There were plenty of comrades champions in that mix there. There were plenty of SA champions, international runners all over the place. And yeah, pace to 30Ks was very comfortable.
So for Adam, just for our viewers, for Adam, when we were chatting offline, I said that I read and I saw that he was conversational at 3:12 was the pace. 3:12 per K. Hey, Adam, that was your targeted pace.
Yeah.
3:12 per K, and it was conversational. It was like a Sunday jog with his friends, and stopped after 30Ks because that was your job for the day. Hey.
Yeah, that was my job. That is what I was hired for, and I stopped just after 30Ks.
Unbelievable. It's hard to describe. I think for runners they'll get it, but people involved in other sports, maybe it's hard to describe at what level. I think this might put it into perspective. Is your half marathon time, where does that rank in the world, including all the Kenyans, or everyone in the world that's run a half marathon this year? What's your half marathon time?
So as of this year, I'm ranked 31 in the world. I don't know, there's quite a few, obviously, Kenyans above there and Ethiopians. Take them out and I'm probably top 5, 6 or 7, I'd say. I do want to go faster this year. I am planning to go to Europe in October. There's 2 options there for a half marathon. I'm going to decide soon with my manager and advisors. But yeah, I want to go faster. That's the goal.
And on that point, do you have a coach?
No, I coach myself.
You coach yourself, and that works well for you. And then, like a normal week, does it go on feel, or could you tell like what's happening in 3 weeks' time? Do you set the session, or is it a bit more on feel?
Yeah, so it's 50-50. I obviously go to where the body's feeling, what the weather's like. I obviously don't do big sessions when it's very windy. So I move days. It's not a very strict program. It works around my work schedule as well. So I can't just do it 24/7. But it's worked for me. It gives me enough
So what's
rest.
tomorrow's session?
Tomorrow's session is just going to be an easy 18Ks or so.
Right, and when's your next hard session?
the weather's bad this weekend in Durban, so you're looking at Monday.
So what does that look like?
Monday will be, I need to decide what I'm going to do, but it will probably be 1 mile.
At what pace? 1 mile, so 1.6.
1 mile at kilometer pace, about 248, 249.
That's remarkable. So give us a big goal. Just explain to us what the big goal, what should we be watching out Adam Lipschitz and say we saw him on the Jewish Report webinar?
Yeah, so this year, obviously, I just want to load that half time. If I can go under 61 minutes, that's the goal. I won't obviously go if I'm not in shape. I will find another race if October I don't feel I'm in shape yet. But yeah, the future is Tokyo. I mean, Paris 2024, it's always been the goal for the marathon. I've always loved marathon running, watching it. Comrades is obviously a big part of Durban and the running community here. I'll obviously do that one day, but not soon. And yeah, it's probably looking to try and win that. That's what I'd attempt to do it. But the marathon is probably the short-term goal right now.
What time do you need to qualify for the Olympics?
So for Olympics at the moment, you need just under 2 hours and 12 minutes for the marathon. But I would target at 2 hours and 8 minutes. My first
That's
marathon.
your target marathon time, 2:08.
As of right now.
Yeah.
But obviously in the next few years, that will probably get lowered.
It's what's remarkable is you've got your own business. You're a remarkable talent. You do this as a part-time. I saw that you're an Arsenal fan, I think, hey?
Unfortunately, at the moment, yes.
You can't have it all, hey?
No, can't win all the time.
Exactly. You got to give some other people a chance. But
yeah.
But Adam, it's really, it's absolutely remarkable. And yeah, just maybe our friend, our fellow board member, actually, Herschel Jarwitz, asked one question. Why do you think South Africa can't produce quality marathon runners and quality athletes?
I'd say it's funding. You know, a lot of runners are not in the fortunate position to fund their careers, unfortunately, and they're not being helped. You know, a lot of people don't have shoes, the basic running tool. So the most talented people are not getting access to the right facilities or the right structures. And I think there's new leadership at the moment in South African athletics that just came on board. So we'll give them time, and they're doing a lot of positive. So I think that's the way forward for them.
Fine. So you think it's a big funding issue? Howie, I know you know about doping in athletics, but Adam will tell you.
Just athletics, Benji, not generally.
I just did point it out. I won't talk about. We won't get into other doping. But Adam will tell you about a phenomenon in the world. There's a World Youth Champs about something called age doping. So Adam, tell Howard that what age doping is in the World Youth Champs. What's happening?
Yeah, so I'm sure you've seen some of the photos I've posted or shared on Twitter. There's a lot of juniors under 18s or 19s that, you know, you can physically
Adam,
tell.
you can say it. They look like me and they're competing under 18. Seriously,
yeah, so
Howie.
They're very old. It's pretty obvious. There's jokes going around about this. You know, when I was 17, 18 running in overseas as well, you get demotivated. You think you're a hot shot from your country. You go overseas, you get lapped, you know. But it levels out. It takes time, but now we're all at the same level now.
Yeah. Adam,
So
you're
just
remarkable. Well done.
Explain this to me. Are older people pretending to be younger?
Yeah.
I don't say they're pretending, but a lot of the African countries obviously register their children late at birth. That seems to be the biggest issue.
Like 20, 30 years later.
Pretty much.
So like you could have, because there's a lot of prestige and then there are contracts that are won and sponsorship.
There's a lot of money involved.
There's a lot of money involved. So you'll see, it's actually, we can joke about it, but you'll see a guy, he looks 25 competing in the under 18. Now, there is actually a big strength difference, but a lot of running, what people don't realize, to run as fast as Adam, actually, it takes a lot of mental prowess. It's not simple to run at 2 minutes 45 a K. These guys, they talk about Kipchoge and that having incredibly fast minds. One of the ways they're training these athletes today is that they're watching computer screens, and then they have to like call out different colors and numbers, and then they send them for a run. And that's the way to replicate the fatigue and not have the injury risk. It's hell of a, I mean, it's interesting for runners, so it can be a bit boring. But so not only are you stronger, but you're mentally stronger at that age. Adam, you're much more qualified than me. And there's a lot of money at play. And it's called age doping.
There's a lot more money than people think in the sport of running.
Howie, you can still get in there.
I want you to know the mental strength that I have to force myself to sit on the couch and watch television while Adam is getting up at 4:45 tomorrow morning to go run, and the absolute determination that it takes me and the mental strength to lie in bed. It's not easy being me, let me tell you.
Adam, tell him we wouldn't change it for anything in the world.
No, not at all. It gets earlier during summer.
Yeah.
You do know it's self-inflicted pain. No one has any sympathy whatsoever.
Adam, when you want to do your act of chesed, like dealing with old people, and we can come run with you, and you're ever in Joburg, it would be our running club's greatest honor. To have you. You would have to watch a lot of screens and run a lot beforehand to be a little bit tired when you run with us. But it's been fantastic to have you. Yeah, it's been great.
Definitely.
Adam, I want you to know I don't drive as fast as you run, but I have seen Dina drive, and I've seen her ramp a few circles, and she definitely does drive faster than you.
I can tell you can't beat the runners as fast as he can run. I can tell you that.
But I think when he's waking up at 4:45, when there's non-COVID times and no curfew, Kimmy passed him on the way back, on the way home.
I was just
Dina,
about to
go
say
onto your treadmill, put it onto 21, see what happens.
I don't think my treadmill goes to 21.
No, mine definitely doesn't.
I'll be, that's me. I'll be getting home when non-COVID times. I'll be getting home and I'll be seeing him running along, and I'll be like, damn, those people make me feel so bad about myself.
Kimmy K, you're getting up at the crack of dawn. You DJing at the gym at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. No one should be awake at that hour on a Friday.
And you know what time I go to sleep? At 4:45 a.m.
Well, to everyone who's joined us this evening, a huge thank you. So appreciate the fact that we've been able to tell these 4 remarkable stories. I think we all very much attached to the stories that we told this evening. But Peter, I must tell you, like, people genuinely had goosebumps hearing the story of that, the connections that we made tonight, and the fact that we could introduce Reg and Noah to each other for the first time this evening was just absolutely stunning. Kimmy, I'm definitely not going traveling with you. We know I'm not going running with Adam. I'm not going to box with Colin. And so with that, I suppose we have no other option but to call it a night. We'll see
on Saturday night.
Exactly, but we'll see everyone on Saturday evening, where we have chefs from around the world, from India, from Australia, from Italy, from Brooklyn in the United States, where we're going to be doing our MasterChef Rosh Hashanah edition Saturday evening, 8 p.m. We'll see everyone then. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.
Adam, just answer Evan Cotton on the line. He's sending you messages, okay, on the Q&A. Okay.
No problem.
Thank you,
everyone. Thank you,
everyone. Ciao, everyone.
Yes.